Well, it's another beautiful day here in southern Alabama, and we are back at the rickety table, which means, you guessed it, another knife torture test. I told you that if my American-made versus Chinese-made K-bar video reached 20,000 views, I would make a similar video battle testing two other classic knives. So that said, in this video, we will not only be conducting a torture test, we will be battling two great knives against each other in an all-out frontal war. What two knives are duking it out? Well, we're taking a very felicitous step back in time as we battle government-issued bayonets from both the Soviet and American armies. Yes, let's transport back in time to the era of all things Cold War. The war that never saw direct combat between these two great powers. And, through this video, ask ourselves, what if? The first contestant is the Soviet-made AKM Type 1 bayonet. The AKM rifle was introduced in 1960. Among other things, this updated AK-47 variant included a bayonet lug. Much easier and cheaper to manufacture than the AK-47, production and use of the AKM went worldwide. The inclusion of a bayonet lug allowed for a more conventional bayonet. However, the new bayonet design, what we refer to as the AKM Type 1, it was as groundbreaking as the Kalashnikov itself. It incorporated a number of features, making for an incredibly versatile bayonet. The one-piece molded plastic grip and pommel, and the stainless steel blade made the bayonet impervious to rust and rot. The steel scabbard body had a lug at the point that engaged a window cut into the blade, so the bayonet and scabbard could be combined as wire cutters. The scabbard body had a rubber insulator, making it safe to cut electrified wires. The AKM-1 bayonet was produced in East Germany, Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Russia. All, of course, during and under Soviet occupation. And our next contestant is none other than the M9 U.S. Army bayonet. The M9 bayonet, officially known as the M9 Frobus III, is a multi-purpose knife and bayonet officially adopted in 1986 by the United States. It has a 7-inch or 18-centimeter blade and is issued with a sheath designed to double as wire cutters as well. It is a refined copy of the Russian AKM 6H3 bayonet. He later produced it under the Frobus III name, filling a military contract for 325,000 units. The Ontario Knife Company also participated in later contracts and is one of the current contractors for producing the M9 bayonet. Compared to its predecessor, the M7 bayonet, made specifically for the M16, the M9 was designed to be a multi-purpose bayonet system that could be used as a fighting knife, a general field and utility knife, as a wire cutter when used on the sheath, and as a saw. The M9 also fits the Mossberg 590 special purpose shotgun. So, without any further delay, let's see what these two knives are made of.
One of the first things I do before I put any sort of abuse on these knives is to slice through some paper and give you a gauge as to how sharp these things come. You're not going to be worried about the sharpness of the edge as much as you're going to be worried about its ability to take a lot of force as you're ramming through your enemy. Now I can tell you right now, the AK bayonet, it does not have a very good edge on it. See, I can't even get it to. I don't know that you can even say this thing has an edge, to be honest with you. But that's, again, it's kind of a moot point when it comes to bayonets. But let's try our M9 now. Now the M9, I'm just feeling the edge. It definitely has a finer edge on it. There we go. It has a bit of an edge, and a slightly better edge than our AK bayonet, but that's not what these things are for. They're not known to have really fine edges. You're not going to be sitting in the trenches doing bushcraft and carving chess pieces with your bayonet. You know, it's just the nature of it, I suppose.
Our second test is going to be its wire cutting capabilities. First, we're going to start with some trailer light wires. This is about 18 gauge. Then we're going to move up to our residential wire. This is a 12 gauge Romex wire. You can see our M9 has no problems whatsoever. Next, we're moving up to a steel wire. We're going from copper to steel, and this is 12 gauge. You can see it clips through that with some struggle, but it's still able to clip through it. Now let's go to our AK bayonet. As you can see, it just chomps right through our trailer wire. And then we get to our 12 gauge Romex, which is copper still, so relatively soft. It begins to struggle here mainly because of the size of the mouth of the wire cutters here. But it is able to get through this 12 gauge wire with a bit of struggle. Now we move to our 12 gauge steel wire. It's going to be a little bit different story. It is unable to get through this 12 gauge steel wire. This is really important because concertina wire is all 12 gauge wire. Now let's look at some barbed wire I was able to find here. Barbed wire is double stranded, 2 strands of 12.5 gauge galvanized steel wire. So our M9 bayonet chomps through that with no problem. Our AK bayonet just doesn't make it. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for the M9. But I guess your wire cutters really only need to be as strong as your enemy's brake lines are thick. Now, it's going to be cold out there on the Eastern Front, and you and your buddy are going to need some firewood. I like doing the firewood test, regardless of whether or not you're going to need firewood on the front lines. Firewood tests put the knife under a lot of stress. They test the endurance of the knife, the construction of it, and how well it can withstand a lot of concussive force to it, whether or not you really do need to start a fire. You can see the AK bayonet kind of struggles through this. Having an edge on these knives really does make a difference. Let's test out our M9 now. Our M9 just pops these things right open. No problem at all. You see sometimes 1 or 2 hits, this oak is just split wide open. M9 wins the round.
All right, here goes everybody's favorite part, the road drag.
Wow, that's always so much fun to drag these knives down the road. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. But let's examine what we got so far after a mile of being dragged down the road. First, let's look at our AK bayonet and see what kind of damage we inflicted. So far, it seems like there's a lot of surface abrasions on the bakelite handle, of course. It looks like there were a couple small nicks on the back side of the blade. Probably just from some kind of rock. And yeah, just you know, obviously lots of scratches. But yeah, the knife has not loosened up whatsoever. I gotta give it credit where credit is due. Solid functioning knife here. The M9, same thing, a lot of minor abrasions on the handle. On the hand guard, same thing, some light abrasions, surface abrasions. No twisting, no warping of the handle at all that I can tell. Retained its original shape. The blade obviously has minor scratches, surface scratches. Now there are some pretty good nicks in the back of this blade here at the tip that were taken out. I'll put a close-up here in the B-roll footage so you can see it. And also the edge of the blade has some slight nicks taken out of it as well. No movement in the hand guard, no movement in the handle. These guys are definitely tough, I gotta hand it to them. Don't worry, I have a couple more tricks up my sleeve. We're gonna try to simulate some more abuse that might be dealt these kinds of bayonets in times of war. So we'll see what we got in store for it.
Fix bayonets! Fix bayonets!
We can't run away. If we stay here, we can't shoot. So let's fix bayonets.
Just kidding, I wouldn't do that. But we are gonna stab this barrel a bunch of times. This drum is gonna be our simulated steel helmet of our enemy soldier. What I did is just took the bayonet, put it like in a 2-inch pipe or whatever this is. This is gonna serve as our rifle, so we don't have to damage any beautiful rifles. Here we go. Let's do, what do you think, maybe 5 times in the barrel?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Okay, let's try it. It went all the way in.
Wow.
I did not expect that. Wow.
Got rust on it.
Okay, 4 more times.
Oh, here we go.
This bayonet's a champ, I don't know.
There we go.
So solid. Nothing wrong with it. Goodbye.
That was surprising.
Oh, these things are tough.
Like these knives, especially.
To me. You know, in most of my knife torture test videos and my battle test videos, I like to drive over my knives with my own car. But I think in this video, that's just not gonna cut it. We need something a little bit beefier, because surely in history of modern warfare, an infantryman has dropped his bayonet and it got run over by a tank. But lo and behold, I do not have a tank at my disposal. About the best I can do is a skid steer. So we're about to find out if these bayonets will survive being driven over by this skid steer. Well, thanks guys for watching thus far. I'm gonna have to call this little competition for the product of free market capitalism and say that the Ontario Knife Company's M9 bayonet is a superior warfighting tool to that of its production-seized counterpart, the AK bayonet. So the moral of the story is this though. These two bayonets came from very capable and strong nations. Nations that if fully facing off with one another in war, might end in their mutual destruction. And in that scenario, everyone loses. I hate war, but sadly, war is a byproduct of the condition of our wicked hearts and may at times be a necessary evil. But just think, the combined defense budgets of these two great nations could easily alleviate, if not solve, many of humanity's most plaguing issues. My hope and prayer is that we can channel such great ingenuity, engineering, and willpower for the betterment of our species, the promotion of justice, and the avoidance of war at all costs. I hope to live to see an era when we, as Isaiah chapter 2 says, will beat our swords into plows and our spears into pruning knives. Nations will not take up the sword against nation, and we will never again train for war. Thanks for watching, guys. Consider liking and subscribing. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it real.
Just like.
We're having
Are we gonna eat 'em?
impromptu fish cleaning lesson
After
here.
that, Dad?
Yeah, we're gonna eat them. I can't get the bayonet.
Beep.
The moss is in the way. I can't do it.